Hello everyone, it's Matt here and welcome to some news. And it's been a busy week to fortnight full of LEGO leaks, and although there's been lots of leaks for things such as superheroes, especially with a lot of leaks regarding new sets for Spider-Man and Infinity War and Thanos and all that sort of humph, I'm personally not interested in that, and that's not what I'm going to talk about as well. There's been quite a lot of leaks for Star Wars as well, and we've been seeing quite a lot of figures from factory leaks and a few other bits and pieces. There's plenty of new molds coming out, including a brand new dress piece, which is actually leg height as well. So it's a brand new piece, just minifigure leg height, so it's just for dresses and cloaks and things that will obscure the legs. So it'll be fantastic to actually see female figures wearing dresses actually being the same height as men. So there's always been a bit of a sort of like a disparity in that sort of sense. So the main things I want to talk about are trains, hospital or medical, Arctic and power functions. And I actually did say those because there's a very specific reason for that. Now, a lot of these leaks have come from a variety of sources, including the LEGO Leaks Discord, which used to be the LEGO Leaks Reddit subreddit, Eurobricks, as well as the Train Tech forum in particular, and Instagram. So there's been quite a lot of sort of swirling, if you like, and there's also been a few other sources as well, such as sellers and retailers putting up links early and a few other bits and pieces. So in the previous video I said that, allocating if the theory is true and the current themes are to be believed in LEGO, so we get trains every 4 years and medical every 5 or so much, that has actually been confirmed now. So there was a rumour probably around late December, probably early January, that said the train theme for LEGO for City for 2018 would consist of 4 sets, which would match sort of the 2014 sort of offering. So we'd have a track pack, a station, a passenger train, and a freight train. The track set was actually the last to release, and I'm actually going these in size order. So the track pack was the lowest, this has been the latest to release rather. That consists of 4 curved tracks, 8 straight tracks, and 8 flex track pieces. So that's a really interesting mix of pieces. So it's not the end of flexi track, but it is indicated that it's probably on its way out, and that these sets are actually just reusing pieces they've already produced. So it might mean that this series is the last series we actually get flex track in that sense. The station, we've not actually, although it's been rumoured by, I think it's at least a couple of people, we've not actually seen any photos of it. There's been no evidence of it on retailers. So it could be that we're actually not getting it this year, or at least it's not leaked this year and it's leaking late. It's been released later in the year, not matching the trains. It seems unlikely. It could also be it's a special set, so it's a retailer's exclusive. So it might mean that it's a slightly bigger set than it has been in previous years, so it might mean it's pricier. Again, that's something that remains to be seen. The passenger set is actually an interesting take for LEGO. It's more along the sort of Euro style line. So it's got a full yellow end with a special canopy piece that lifts up for the driver. But it very much takes on other forms of previous passenger trains, where it's essentially just a box on wheels. And that's actually kind of true for LEGO, and it's actually an interesting one for 2018's passenger set, because it's actually just a loco and 2 coaches, like the Horizon Express. So this means that you have to buy 2 entire sets to get the full train. Now obviously this is a bit of a concern for LEGO, because yes, it means you have to buy 2 sets, and most people would buy 2 sets anyway, so you could get the parts to build more passenger cars, but it also means that you acquire a lot more track than you're actually going to use. So this swings and roundabouts. The passenger train also comes kind of like the 6937 set, I think it was, where you get a little platform for your passengers to board and disembark, and you also get a signal as well, so you don't actually get a level crossing in that one. The freight set is actually quite an interesting one. Previous leaks suggested it would be a loco with a centre section and an upturned cab. So it's kind of like the Russian locos, kind of like the SNCF locos, where the cab, instead of being sort of like the cab sort of like normal locos, normally it's like a flat or it slopes backwards. With this one, it's actually sloped forwards. So it's a bit of a different aesthetic to the Lego, and it's certainly something I don't think I've generally done before, except for in ships. And that was actually hinted at via a video that was posted probably of a trade show or a retailer show a long while ago, and everyone was sort of like, that's fantastic, it's something mocky or mock-like, it's very unusual for Lego to do something of that type, and it's actually been kind of sort of like, that would be fantastic, it's a nice look for the train, it's something unusual. But again, videos, it's an official video, don't get me wrong, it's a video of an official event, but it was just a leak, and that leak has now proven to actually be kind of true and kind of false. It's kind of true for the aesthetic of the train, in the fact that the colour scheme is right, the underframe is the same, but the body is actually different. Instead of being that nice sort of SNCF sort of like sloped front, it's actually the other way around now. It's actually looking more a bit like the Class 37 with pantographs on it, or perhaps you might remember the green sort of tiny crocodile sort of loco from the radio control days. It's actually kind of like that, except in a new paint scheme. But what makes the freight train set so special, I think, is actually what's included. So you do not get an overhead gantry crane like you did in 6052. Instead, you actually get a crane car. So that actually makes it a little different to the last series. It also includes a log car that ties in very neatly with the forestry theme and a few other bits and pieces that have already been released for City this year. And there's also a container car which contains a bank sort of style container and a one for a little vehicle, so possibly a getaway vehicle for the mountain robbers and the mountain police to actually chase them on. And there's also a bank truck, which kind of doesn't make sense considering they've already released one in the mountain chase set, so it kind of is a bit sort of like including the same thing twice. But it also includes double level crossing, and it also includes a control tower, which is something that Lego, generally speaking, haven't really done. I think there was one in a level crossing from World City, possibly, but that's really the last time I think I've actually seen anything in that sort of sense. And it is actually a bit unusual for a freight train because it actually only includes one point as well. So it only includes the left-hand point, which means there is a slight disparity, or will be a slight disparity, in terms of the price of those, because those will obviously now be a bit cheaper. So moving on from trains, the next thing I talked about in that leak video especially was hospital/medical. And I sort of said that if the previous indications are to be expected, hospital or a hospital-like set would be coming back in 2018. And yes, I have been proven right. I'm not going to share a photo because obviously it's still a leak, it's still confidential, but I will say that it looks very nice and it's very much on par with the current fire station and police station sets in terms of their size and functionality. And I will say this, it does include a helicopter. You should know this by now, that any big releases of a police station or fire station normally includes a helicopter, and it's no exception for the hospital this year. Although I will say it is rather diminutive, it's more sort of like an emergency attention copter, so if someone's had a heart attack or something like that, they can get equipment out of them, but it's not necessarily for actually rescuing people. Because obviously that sort of set that's actually already released this year is actually one of the ones which released sort of like on January the 1st, so it had a skier in it and an actual helicopter. So that medical helicopter has kind of already been released. And besides which, you also have a lot of helicopters and other things such as Coast Guard and other sets, for example, which might actually take their passengers to, or injured people that have rescued, to the hospital directly. So there might not actually be a direct need for the hospital to actually include a proper full helicopter. It does include an ambulance though, and it looks to be about 3 floors high, So very similar to the police station in that respect. So it's a very large facade as well. But again, like the police station actually had quite a nice looking large facade, but a lot of it was empty and hollow. So we remains to be seen what's actually inside the hospital. And that's the only set that's actually been released. There's not a separate ambulance set. There's not been any hint of a polybag or anything like that as of yet. It's still early days. It is only, may I remind you, the 20th of January. There is a hell of a lot of days left in the year for those sorts of things to actually become realistic and actually become true. And a lot of polybags, we've had a few already, like the figure display for Star Wars this week, which is actually DJ, I think it is. A lot of polybag sets only release or are leaked very close to their actual release into the general public normally. So it's kind of an interesting thing to actually weigh some. So we might get something medically related, like a medical car or a doctor's car. But again, it might be something that we'll see later in the year, and it might be a set that, you know, maybe Lego might revisit in the second half of the year, maybe towards Christmas, as a stocking fillery sort of set, because Lego do seem to produce ones every so often towards the end of the year which are of that type. The next thing I'm going to talk about is Arctic. Arctic has been a widely discussed range. It was only released about 3-4 years ago anyway, but it is making a comeback again this year, and actually it's going to be releasing in the second half of 2018 from what the catalogue has indicated and what other people have sort of suggested. It consists of 6 sets in total of a variety of sizes, and one of the sets is a helicopter, but it diverges from normal in that the fact it's actually more like a drone, in that it actually has 4 helicopters in corners, or more like a drone. In fact, there's got 4 rotors in the corners rather than just one main one, or 2, or as a pair, or as 2 as like an Osprey sort of one where they're actually at the end of wings. This is actually a full-on sort of drone style helicopter where it's actually got 4 in the corner on arms. So it's a very interesting and different look for Lego City, at least, and it's something I'm sort of a bit apprehensive about. The catalogue is very blurry, or kind of blurry, and you must remember that any leaks that happen in the dealer's catalogue are largely sets that are being finalised but not yet complete. For example, the city leaks didn't have their stickers on for trains, and a lot of the leaks we've been seeing for other sets are pre-production artwork. They're very low resolution, they're very low quality, and a lot of them are actually there just so that there's some artwork. A lot of there was a big thing about the city trains is that somebody has said that the reason why the city leaks for trains are that sort of style with no stickers is actually because it's just pre-production artwork, and they wanted the photos done, or some of the photos done at least, so they could get it ready for the box art, so the box art could be designed and finalised, ready for them to actually make it proper with the complete image with the stickers on and that sort of thing. So Arctic is returning again. There's 6 sets in total. There's a variety of small to large sets. One includes a polar bear. I think it's a large set, but obviously if you're interested in leaks, you're probably already aware of this. And again, I won't spoil too much because of the theme, but again, a lot of the theme variety looks to be of the smaller side, but you will be seeing a few, I think there's 4 small and 2 largely sort of star sets, and we will be seeing Husty's return, whether that's a print on the existing dog mould or a brand new mould is yet to be seen. Again, the pictures are low quality, but it would not surprise me if they just did a new or revert to a print they actually did for the old Arctic theme and just reintroduced it, or perhaps did something very similar but a variation of. And the last aspect I want to talk about is power functions, and it's actually kind of unusual for me to say I'm going to talk about power functions, because power functions, a lot of people are sort of aware of what I think of power functions. It's very nice, you know, it's very modulating, but you are restricted because you only have 8 channels to choose from, and if you have 4 vehicles and you want lights and you don't plug lights in straight from the battery, congratulations, you've got your problem. And you can actually do that with the rechargeable batteries, that the function lights are controllable by the battery box itself, so you can set your lights on very dim and still have power left for your IR receiver, and then have motors, whatever, from that itself. So you do have that option. But there has been suggestions, and I'm going to quote, I'm going to directly link, quote him, Paper Ballpark, as I said, both on Eurobricks and on the Brickset. So it's a LEGO Leaks sort of thread, but you can only see if you're a member. So become a member, you see more. If you're on, talking about power functions in its current state, which is people are saying is Power Functions V1, has been around for a while now. It's been in 2 train waves now, excluding this one, I think. And the general consensus is it's very nice, but it's a system which can be a bit limited. And LEGO, when they released We Do 2.0, which was in Boost, I think, as well, is something along that We Do line, and it's using that very sort of networky phone line sort of style connector. There was a bit in the blurb and a bit of a Q&A that sort of said what's going to happen to power functions, and the comment from LEGO was essentially power functions as they are going to stay, but we will be converting them at a later date. Now, Paper Park has said that the train sets will require 10 batteries rather than 9, but it's largely been such that they actually use the existing power functions. That will mean that they will use 6 batteries in the battery box and 4 in the controller. Now, very interesting, the artwork for the LEGO train sets for this year, the passenger and the freight one at least, the artwork said it had something about power functions new, and the picture that was there was of a sort of like a brick built supersized 1x2 brick or 1x2 plate. It seemed to be a bit thick for a plate, but not quite thick enough for a brick, which would indicate we're actually getting a brand new controller, and that might be why there's 4 batteries. So we're actually getting a new controller, kind of similar to the radio control ones in terms of that sort of thing, with actually having sounds in. The artwork isn't very high quality, as I've said before, and I'm reiterating again, and it was a bit blurry, but it did indicate that there was something that said power function, and there was something underneath, which might mean new, which might mean version 2. It's not particularly clear what it is yet, and again, it's pre-production artwork, but it is an indication that we're moving to a new form of power functions. Now, whether that is meaning what we're going to be seeing a reuse of power functions as are with the radio control receiver in the 2018 trains scene remains to be realised. We could be seeing that 2018 is still a reuse of the power functions V1, but with a new remote, so that they can actually change it out at a later date. So they're bringing a new remote, bringing in some functionality, but then changing it to a later date for something such as Bluetooth Low Energy, which a lot of people have sort of said is likely to happen, because then it means you can use your smartphone with it and it's more flexibility, and LEGO have been trying to push into that sort of market where it's their products plus you can use your smartphone or your tablet to help control it. So there is that sort of thing that's happening, where there is a suggestion that LEGO might be moving towards a Bluetoothy sort of style of connection for power functions in the very near future, so that they can actually reuse their We Do sort of system and possibly bring over their train motors and battery box and everything else to this new format, because obviously trains require a bit more power than Boost or some things along that line. But anyway, that's this little bit of discussion over with, and I'm Matt, and hopefully I'll see you in the next video.